it's not for everyone. Not everyone wants to study the world. Not everyone wants to study everything. Some people are happy just doing one thing. And of course, I can't understand it necessarily because that's not who I am. I like to study everything from science to philosophy to art. I like it all. So it's hard for me to understand that because my brain is not wired that way.
Man, I feel like that all the time, man.
Really?
I'm one of those people that is always dreaming about what's gonna happen, what I can do,
Yeah, I'm guilty
always
of
trying
that.
to innovate, and so I'm that kind of person that always lives in my mind.
No,
And
I do that too all the time. I mean
and
that
I have trouble with it because it's hurting my relationships in a way that, I had not realized because, it's almost like Spider-Man says, with great power comes great responsibility because, yes, maybe I do have a great imagination, but it comes to the cost where I'm constantly in my head, creating stuff to where I can't be in the present moment when I'm with family and I just, something that they say triggers something in my head and I just start creating all these ideas or thinking about, you know, oh, I need to send this text message so I can do this and later on. And, it's always like up here in my head. So I've been trying to figure out what is a solution to that because, or maybe there isn't, or, you
maybe
know,
yeah, there could be potential solutions like writing it down real quick.
yeah, that's true.
Then you don't have to think about because you're like, I wrote this down, I'm gonna do it later kind of thing.
Yeah.
And bring your attention back, and it probably takes a lot of practice, but it's not impossible.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of people say like, if you're living in the future, you have anxiety. If you're living in the past, you have depression.
Mhm.
The only place where you can find peace is in the moment.
Right, that's true.
It's crazy,
You
man.
don't want to diminish your creativity, so you just maybe need to find the appropriate time to use it to
Yeah.
find time for that future
To
thing.
tap into it. Yeah.
Because I'm a filmmaker, I do that all the time. I'm thinking about future film projects. I'm thinking about envisioning it in my mind before I make it. That's what all creative artists do. Like you, me, that's what an artist is. You have to be able to think about envision things in your mind and think in the future of how you're going to do it to create. You know,
Yeah.
what makes us who we are. As an artist or something like that. So it's
Yeah.
not a bad thing. It's just, but if it's interfering, then maybe just find a way to push it to a different time or something. Write
Hmm.
it down so you don't
Yeah.
have to worry.
Yeah. I definitely found that writing it down definitely helps
Yeah,
just kind of get it out of my head and see it in words and be able to continue with my daily life just because I think what I'm gonna do is just constantly what I've been doing actually constantly taking a notebook throughout the day and in case I need to have a thought or an idea, I just write it down there. Just
that's
write
good.
it down
So your
or
phone,
in my phone whenever I don't have it I just put down a note and that way I can still keep it there and not have it roaming in my head again and again and again because it happens to me all the time. I mean, I'm at the gym just working out and all of a sudden I just got this idea and then I was like, oh, okay, like, I have to do it,
like,
and it's
stop.
sometimes so and I don't know if you've had this experience happen before, but you have this idea and you're like, man, this is such a great idea. I need to take action. But you have so many responsibilities that
Yeah,
you just can't.
yes,
It'll
frustrating.
need to wait.
Yes, and then that's why I write it down. Like all the film stuff, I have a whole journal full of film ideas that I write them all in when I know I can't do it now. And often my scripts take a year or so to write because the ideas don't all come at once. They'll come at the most random times, the most inconvenient of times. And so I just write it down in this journal and that's fixed that problem of trying to worry about it all the time. I do that for philosophical ideas too. I have a whole filing cabinet full of journals and philosophical ideas that just kind of come up or scientific ideas that come up. And as my gifted and talent teacher told me when I was in elementary school a long time ago, I was overwhelmed back then in elementary school thinking about all this stuff I wanted to do. And I was getting frustrated because I couldn't do it right then and there
Yeah.
because, I'm an elementary school student. So she said she gave me my mom the best advice that I still carry around as I'm telling you now to this day is the journals. She said just have them write it down, and it got rid of that anxiety and worry, and because then I know I have it saved, cataloged. I can always come back to it later and work on it whenever I do have time.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes I feel like there's just so many great ideas, and sometimes I feel like society just pushes you to focus on one thing, right?
It's
And
fresh.
it's the idea of like the child can become anything, all possibility, but at some point what becoming an adult means settling down and focusing on one thing or maybe two or three things, but you
Like
have to achieve some sort of mastery.
yeah, I would say that's probably how most people see it. That's been my experience at least. When I say I like to do all these different things, it's usually a positive response, but then it's always sometimes it comes down to, well, practically you're gonna have to try to narrow it down into one thing or two things. Actually, it's mostly just like you need to focus on one thing as a conversation. They
Yeah.
they try to push you towards that in some way. Like they don't directly say it, but they kind of indirectly like say, hey, the you know, or they try to encourage you to let go of these things that you used to do that you still enjoy. You know?
Mm,
That's just how it's like all wired in the world, or. And it makes sense because it's the most practical, simplest approach to life, you know. But it's not for everyone. I mean, Leonardo da Vinci was a polymath, and he wasn't rich or anything, but he did a lot of things that made him happy, and he lived a really interesting life. And
yeah.
he let
And I
anyone
think
know.
that's what one should aspire to, right? Live an interesting life to what makes you blissful, right? For him it was, discovering and innovating, and I think a person's success cannot be just solely on how much money they made, right?
It's all about money. Yeah,
But like how much did they let their intuition grow, or
yeah.
the mastery that they were able to develop, you know?
It's not for everyone. Not everyone wants to study the world. Not everyone wants to study everything. Some people are happy just doing one thing. And of course, I can't understand it necessarily because that's not who I am. I like to study everything from science to philosophy to art. I like it all. So it's hard for me to understand that because my brain is not wired that way. My brain's
Yeah.
wired for curiosity, for learning everything that I can.
And at some point I thought everyone had this
Yeah,
this
same here. Yeah.
this right?
Start
I
realizing
thought that everybody just innately was curious about life, and it was that human nature that it was human nature to just be curious about the world and create ideas and that sort of thing. But then I think it was more in the sense of college where I discovered that, oh shoot, not everyone can create things, just out of nowhere, that sort of thing.
not everyone's interested in multiple things, either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's why I really enjoyed the liberal arts education at St. Mary's, just
yeah,
because you could have as many minors as you wanted, and
yeah. That's pretty.
and take classes in all
I
sorts of
should have.
areas.
I should have taken advantage of that a little bit more. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting, because yeah, it's just the way it is. Like not everyone wants to. Like some people just have no interest in science at all. Some people have no interest in art at all. It's just the way it is. Like,
Hmm.
it's fine. But yeah, I used to think
Awesome.
that way too. I used to think I was like common that oh like, well, why aren't you curious about this? It's so interesting.
Yeah,
It's weird, right? But
it's kind of interesting. Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad thing. It just
Yeah, everyone's just tailored differently.
makes you more unique, and yeah.
Yeah. And I think about my life, and then I think about, you know, so many areas that I want to grow into. Because right now, for example, I have dance, right? I'm learning how to salsa dance and bachata. And then I also have my endeavors in balloon art, and
Right.
then in music, right? And then also in philosophy and spirituality, and wanting to do a master's and then a PhD program. And it's like so many areas, like,
It's overwhelming.
that I want to grow into, and so it's like, how do I merge them all
Yes,
into one?
yes. That's what I struggle with so much. And this might turn into a separate podcast that we edit later. And
Yeah, we can cut it up.
this podcast is like the Polymath podcast for because me and you are kind of similar in that regard. I feel like because I'm like the same way, man. I'm so frustrated because I wish there was more time in the day. I actually had to give up music because I used to like playing music, and maybe someday I'll have time again. But
Hmm.
I haven't played music or guitar or piano in like almost a year now, maybe. And I still have all of that stuff. And I've composed my own music. I've written my own music. My piano teacher's like impressed. She's like, wow, I never had a student like just start composing so early or just like that.
Mm.
So I know I have it in me. I have the ability to do great things with music, but I just don't have the time. It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
And like, cause I'm doing this counseling thing right now and I'm building that up and that's my main career path. But I'm also doing filmmaking on the side right now. And that takes enough time by itself, those two things.
Yeah.
I have all these books that I want to read on my bookshelf about philosophy, science, physics, parallel universes,
Mm.
metaphysics,
Yeah.
theology, legal stuff, all different topics. And I'm finally starting to have time to read again. But then some days I'm just so tired because it's been such a long day of just work and other responsibilities. I just don't have time to read like I want to, but I'm trying
And
to make,
sometimes we would like to believe that we can do it all, right?
yeah.
Like, because I was like, oh, today, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create this like artwork with balloons, and then after that, what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna read, and then we're gonna record the podcast, and then I'm gonna
Yeah.
write some music, and it's like,
Then before you know it, the day's gone or your energy's gone. Like
yeah,
this oil painting I've been working on, like
that's
I
awesome,
haven't,
bro.
thanks, man. Yeah, I can't. The inspiration just kind of left me. I got it and I got it all out. But I don't know what else to add to it, and maybe I'll figure that out later. Maybe I'll add stuff. Maybe I won't. Maybe it's fine like it is.
And and
I
and
had
a lot of people do that. Like a lot of polymaths, they leave a subject, they go delve into whatever subject that they catches their attention at that moment. But then when they come back into that new piece or that old piece, they are able to see it in different light,
yeah,
because they've experienced different things or learn about something different. And so when they come back to it, they're just able to appreciate it more, or maybe add some other things to it.
yeah. Leonardo da Vinci did that a lot. He would go back to his paintings. I think I told you, like, because I read the book on his biography by Walter Isaac. Really good book. I highly recommend it. And Leonardo da Vinci would do paintings and he would like take years to paint them. Like sometimes he would go days without working on the painting at all. And then maybe one day he would work hours on it. But then another day, a week later, he would do like one tiny little modification or tiny little detail and then not work on it for the rest of the day, you know? So what you're saying,
Yeah,
that's true. It's very common. I mean, like for me too, like Shutterstock was a thing I was doing for a long time. And then I ran out of time, like photography, making money on photography.
yeah,
I can dive back that into that if I want to, and I'm still making money off the Shutterstock stuff, which is awesome. Or taking photos of hot toys was something I was doing for a while, and now I've kind of ran out of time for it again. And making animations with Legos was fun, but then I ran out of time, and so it's like
yeah.
a
That was actually really cool.
thanks, yeah.
Yeah,
There's all the things I can do, and that I know I can do, and that I can do fairly well, I guess. Because people seem to like it online and stuff. But it's like it's you get scatterbrained, and then sometimes you get overwhelmed.
yeah.
Like I don't even
Sometimes I wish I was just like, I do, but I don't, because
yeah,
some people are just gifted at one thing, and then that's, they're like, yes, this is what I'm meant to do. But then when you're creative and you seem to be good at different things, it's like, well, what the heck? Well, which one do
what
I
do I do?
choose?
What should I pursue the most?
Yeah,
That's been my question my whole life. Because if I wanted to, I could pursue music like deeply and probably get good at it,
yeah,
composition and whatnot. But it's like I have to choose. It's hard. It's hard, and I could still do it. I could do it all at the same time, technically, if I divided up my time enough. But I don't know. Sometimes the motivation is not there too. Like for painting, my motivation's kind of died down a little bit. I'm sure I'll do
yeah,
more paintings, and I want to do more paintings because it's fun, and I find that it's surprisingly not as hard as I thought. It just kind of comes naturally, So
yeah.
like I'm
Man, that painting came out really good, man.
thanks, man. Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, I love oil painting. It's fun.
Yeah,
It's like you get to
awesome.
make what's in your mind like reality, because with films I do that, but I'm limited on what I can do with films because my resources.
Mm,
With painting, my resources are unlimited. I can do it.
yeah,
You know, it's just
that's how I feel with balloons, man. Like it's
yeah,
just like I can just do whatever I want. Like
yeah,
I if I just have an inspiration, I can do it, you know?
yeah, exactly.
And yeah, I'm curious to see what that leads to. But yeah, I think what's been my North Star is creating stuff that's like related to spirituality. And I think that's, where I can, I guess, see that being the umbrella of what I want to do.
Yeah,
And so the spirituality, the Christianity, and then all the roots of it coming down from artwork that's related to that, music that's related to that, animation that's related to that, dance that promotes, the values of Christianity. And so it's all like coming back to the North Star. I think that's how I've been able to feel okay with having several projects.
right. You have yeah, like that umbrella you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like whenever you have a lot of projects that you're compromising, potential relationships, like friendships and stuff like that?
No, strangely not. Like you would think so, because but most of my activities have been solo from the get go, except for
Yeah.
filmmaking is the only time I often work with other people. But that's decreased over the years to like just Jacob. Really, he's the only person I really film with these days. On the off chance that someone's available to film, but that's hardly ever happens. So that's the only time I ever, pursue one of my artistic or other hobbies with someone else. Other than that, almost all my hobbies are completely by myself. And just there's the joy of sharing it with like my parents or sharing it online, sharing with friends, with other people. That's when other people get involved. Or when I talk about the inspiration with someone, like right now, or with my mom or something.
Yeah.
Um, does it take away from relationships? I don't know. I mean, I guess technically it does, but does it really bother me? It hasn't really like bothered me. Now that I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
now that I'm thinking about it, it's never really bothered me, and maybe it's because I'm more introverted.
Yeah. And it's never bothered me either, but some like in my previous relationship, you know, it was always like, well, you're putting more time into your activities than to me,
Yeah, I think.
and I was like, it was,
Yeah, I think.
it had never been a problem until then, where I realized, oh shoot, like
Right.
I am putting more time
You realize.
into like activities, projects that I have in mind than into the relationship, which, essentially like made me realize like, hey, am I valuing projects, creative endeavors and projects more than actual relationships?
Well, and it might be who you are because Leonardo da Vinci wasn't never married. He was solo his whole life. Some people are solo their whole lives. Nothing
Mm.
wrong with it. It depends on what you want, But yeah,
They
that's
can never they can never construct an actual provide the foundation for an actual romantic relationship.
yeah, maybe, and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think something similar might have happened in my relationship too, but I wasn't as aware of it at the time. But in hindsight, I almost feel like maybe that's what played a role in it ending.
Ooh.
It might
Yeah,
be,
yeah, yeah.
it might be. But I was also a biology major and chemistry minor, so I wasn't creative pursuits taking my time. It was nothing but college studying and homework and stress. That was just the amount of the amount of like memorization, to be honest.
Uh,
It was nonstop when I was so I think I could see that maybe.
yeah. Yeah, I guess to a certain degree, right? It has to be understanding for both parts
Yeah.
that, you have projects, you still love them, but it's not that, and I think it was hard for her because her love language is quality time,
Mhm.
right? And I guess like it depends on the person as well, right? Like if they're what their love language is. Like because we were spending time together, when I think back at it, we were meeting up, we were working together as well, but we were we were not spending quality time where it was just like her and I. And sometimes we were, but to her maybe it didn't seem like that quality. And so that's why there was like that, I guess, misconnection because I guess she had never dated a person where that was constantly working. Because honestly, these days I just don't even have time to watch TV, to watch series. And people like in my age group, I always see them like, oh, they finished this series or they watched all
Yeah.
these movies,
Like, how do
and
you
I'm just like, I just don't have time to do all of that and then still do my endeavors. Which is why I sometimes feel like, well, am I more mature than other people, or my gears just set
yeah,
in a certain way that I just have to constantly be working on something,
yeah, I can
you
relate.
know?
Like, sometimes I feel like a workaholic where it's like almost compulsive, where when I feel like I'm not working, I feel like I'm wasting time that I could be using
Yes,
better.
dude, I have so much problems with
I
that.
don't want to misrepresent it either because these past few days and just after I taken that national counselor exam, I've just been giving myself a break because like before that, with being in grad school, I didn't have a single break. I was doing grad school during the summer too while working. So I never had breaks and I still sometimes don't have as many breaks. I'm just now finally starting to have weekends where I can have some time off to breathe. So I have to admit this past few weeks or month or so, I've been kind of a little bit less. I've still been doing projects, but a little bit less than usual. So I've been like watching movies, or my motivation's been decreased a little bit. I've been a little bit more tired. I've been trying to like catch my breath, I feel like. And then I feel like it's slowly building back up because like I what I find with me personally, because not everyone has to be a workaholic to, some people that's what they want to do. But like for me, like I find I'm most productive and get the most success out of my projects when I do take a break, because then it lets me like recharge. And
Mm,
the key thing is I've noticed I do that long enough. If I keep doing projects and try to force myself, it doesn't end. It doesn't usually end well. It doesn't go well. But when I take a break for a long enough time, like maybe a day or so, or sometimes just one day, half a day, I'll get bored. I'll get bored watching a movie or get bored watching a TV series. I'm like, this isn't interesting anymore. I need to do something. And then I start working on something like this past weekend. I started filming some of the Spider-Man episode scenes just because I got bored and I was like, I could start working on that. Like nothing's stopping me. Why not? I have time. And I,
yeah.
I get that motivation back. I get the inspiration back. And then before you know it, I'm spending like hours and hours and hours filming and editing again. So it kind of, for me, sometimes it's on roller coaster, it like ebbs and flows in terms,
Yeah.
because I can get
You just
burnt
have
out.
to catch the moment when you just feel that passion.
Yeah, because my passion can die sometimes and I get burned out. I just have no motivation whatsoever to edit, to paint. I just have to let myself recharge. And I know that's when I need to stop and just watch a movie or until I feel that come back. It's just,
Mm,
yeah, man.
yeah. I think that's actually a good point because in my thinking, like I have this really interesting idea of like you said, I sometimes if I indulge in too much like leisure movies and that sort of thing, I just feel like I'm wasting my time, and it's hard because a lot of, you know, girls, I guess, or not just girls, but like sometimes I feel like when it comes to dating, sometimes, you know, there's people that just like can spend the whole day watching movies, or if they wanted, all their whole weekend can be spent on Netflix, and then there's that famous phrase, Netflix and chill, and it for me it's just something that it does not work. It does not come together. I can't just Netflix and chill. Like I have to like Netflix and have 20 minutes of it max, and then I'll have to do something else, you know? And a lot of people tell me like, hey, like, the previous relationships that I've had, they're always like, hey, I already finished the series, like, or I finished it already because you were never gonna
Oh,
finish watching it with me and stuff like that. It's like, you know, I kind of feel bad a little bit, but then at the same time, I'm like, well, it just wasn't really helping me or inspiring me in any way. So why was I gonna continue watching it? You
yeah,
know?
it's not you are, man.
And but at the same time, it takes me out of pop culture, right? You know, it gets me out of the pop culture. And so I don't know what's the slang going on
It's relevant.
sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I find about it, you know, later on, you know, but yeah, I mean, do you get that same experience or like have you seen that in your life as well?
I've definitely gone through moments like that. So I would say more so at St. Mary's when I would dive deeper, be busier, or dive deeper into projects and stuff. And yeah, I think that happened quite a few times. But then again, I don't want to go too far away from the reality of it because I am a huge
Mm,
cinephile as a filmmaker. I love movies.
yeah.
And it's like, to me, when I'm watching certain movies,
Has to be worth it,
especially
right?
ones that I like, it's like studying for me. It's like studying how to become a better filmmaker. So maybe that's why for me it's
Yes. Or like capturing the message. It was like, oh, I really like what they did with this scene because they made this message come out more.
right. And it learns, then I learn how to make better movies or do things the way I want to do them. So I think with
Mm,
movies, but then for me, like a pointless thing for me might be watching YouTube videos randomly. I've been doing that just because I've been burned out lately. I've been like just exhausted mentally and because of all this research I'm doing and then just getting all these application stuff together for the license to get that ready and then finding the job. And but now my hope right now that I finally have found that job that I need for the LPCA, and now that it's all kind of gone through and the research projects are wrapping, I'm hoping that's going to give me more time and then therefore more mental energy had to get more productive on all these creative things because I'm still being
yeah.
productive. I'm just not being as productive as I would like to. I'm not being as
Yeah.
fast as I usually am. Usually I'm much faster on
Oh man,
creative
productivity
tasks.
is a cycle, bro.
And
It's
hardly.
just,
Yeah.
sometimes like because I think we shame people for not being productive.
We've shamed ourselves. It sounds like you
We
shame.
shame ourselves. Yeah.
Sounds like
We're
that's what
so
you though.
critical.
'Cause it sounds like you like what you're saying. You when you're not working on something, you feel like you're wasting time.
Yeah.
That's a shame on yourself, of itself.
Sometimes what I do, I just do it because I know it bothers me or makes me bored.
Yeah.
I just do it because
Yeah.
like, you know what? I'm just gonna watch a movie, you know, and I'm gonna force myself to sit there and watch a movie. You know, and sometimes I do enjoy it, honestly. Um, I can't deny that. But sometimes it's like trying to break that little voice in my head that sometimes says like, hey, you have to be working, like, hey, you know, there's this creative idea that you haven't like touched on for some time, like you should start it now. It's
Yeah.
like,
Felt that.
yes, I need to start it now, but
Yeah, it
it's
makes
like
me a lot. Yeah.
yeah.
I've been there and sometimes I'll be like, do I really want to watch this movie? And then sometimes I'll just stop a quarter of the way through because I'm like, I don't have time to finish it.
Yeah. Yes, bro.
Yeah.
Oh,
I often
same,
I often
bro.
watch the funny thing is I often watch movies in chunks. Like I'll make excuses of when to take breaks. Like, oh, I need to take a break and watch a movie. I can do it because I'm eating breakfast. And then
Mm,
as soon as I finish eating breakfast, I'm like, no, okay, I gotta get back to work now. And then as soon
yes.
as I when I have lunch, like, oh, I'm gonna continue the movie. And then as soon as I finish eating lunch, I'm like, 10 minutes pass by, not even 10 minutes. I'm like, okay, I look at the clock, like, no, too much time has passed. I need to get back onto this thing.
Yes.
Days going by too fast. Once it goes past 2 o'clock, the day's over. It's almost over, and then it speeds by, and then the whole day's over. And then by the time it's 6 o'clock, I'm like, damn, this whole day's gone, and I still have so many things I haven't gotten done.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
how it is almost every day for me. It's like I wish there was more time in the day, or I wish I could pull an all nighter, or I wish I could stay up later, but I know I can't because I have to get up at 7:30 every morning. Because if I don't get my writing blogs done for my writing job because I do those in the morning, so I can have the rest of the day to do other things.
Mm,
So it's like, and I'm very like OCD about certain things. Like I have to do 3 of these writing blocks this morning by 11 or 12, 11 a.m. or 12 p.m. or else I have to get it done and I can't do anything else until I get that done.
Yeah.
It's worked. It's
Yeah.
worked. Like, so I'll do like Saturday through like Monday or Tuesday and I'll have them all done within like 4 days for the whole week. So then I have the rest of the time to do everything else. So yeah, my mind is very, you know that about my personality test. My mind is like very,
Yeah. I think our personality types are very similar. I think that's why they get along very well.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
what,
it's almost like a blessing and a curse at the same time. Because when I was younger, I would tell my mom like that I couldn't sleep because I just had so many thoughts in my head.
oh, really?
And I would, back then it was with mathematical equations.
Oh, dude, I had the
It's
same thing. I thought I was the only one doing it in college. And then sometimes other times, especially in college when I was studying chemistry hardcore,
yeah.
I would have insomnia because my brain wouldn't let me fall asleep because my brain kept automatically just by itself trying to solve these complicated math equations.
Yes.
And they would just
Yeah.
pop up in my mind. I wouldn't even know what they are. They'd be almost fuzzy, right?
Yeah.
I'd be trying so hard. I'd be getting stressed out about it. Like trying to
To
solve
find the problem.
to try to
Oh my
solve.
God, man.
I was like,
Dude, it was
and then
so
it's funny. I don't know if this happened to you too, but I would stop myself like, hey, you idiot. You have the right to fall asleep. Like you don't have
yeah.
to. Like this isn't a homework assignment that's due. Like you don't have to do it if you don't want to. And then, but then I would
Yeah.
go back to it. I'm like, what is it?
Yeah. And sometimes it wasn't even like, oh shoot, like I need to solve this problem. It was like my head would create problems that
Uh,
to solve.
Damn, yeah.
And I was like, Mom, I'm like making like mathematical equations while I'm asleep, and she's like, well, just shut it down. And I'm like, I don't know how
I'm
to.
trying to. I
Like I'm
want.
trying. That's why I came to you. I
Yeah,
thought you
that's why
would
I can't
know.
fall asleep. And I know I'd be like, what is like? Maybe I should have wrote him. Now what I'm thinking, maybe I should have wrote him down or something.
Yeah.
What if it was something God was trying to put in my mind and like some
Yeah.
new equation? I don't know.
Oh man, it sucks when the best ideas just come to you at night and you're like,
Yeah.
ah man, like sometimes like when I was hardcore into like writing music, I would have my phone right next to my bed
Oh yeah.
because sometimes ideas would come and I would press the voice recorder. I would just
Yeah.
record the melodies or whatever it was, and then I
Half
would just put it back and fall asleep.
oh, yeah.
I was like, and then I was listening to it in the morning. It's just like, oh man, I can hear it. I can hear what I was trying to do, but
Yeah.
it's just like trying to get the melody. Oh man,
Yeah.
it's so
Yeah.
funny.
That's true. You know what helps me fall asleep when my mind won't stop? And it hasn't happened in a while because of all these new things. YouTube is awesome because it has binaural beats for like falling asleep. But not only
Mm,
that, but it also has like guided meditation videos that are like 10 or 20 minutes long, sometimes an hour long,
mm,
guide you into sleep. I've done ones that guided me into sleep paralysis and astral projection, and that helps me fall asleep. Videos that, like, if I want to access like memories or something, there's guided meditation on that.
mm.
So that helps when you're trying to fall
Yeah,
because it takes your mind
yeah.
away from all.
Exactly. Yeah. One of the things, the reason why I read a lot is because right before going to sleep, I basically shut my schedule off and just read. Like I just read, and that helped me kind of like get my mind off of things surprisingly because it's like it's like taking in information, but I think like the fact that I'm taking information kind of stops other information from coming in, like, oh, like I need to do this or that. And so it kind of like blocks it almost like as if it were my leisure time, I could say, just kind of block away ideas and like focus on something interesting as like a fun facts kind of deal. Like, you know how sometimes YouTube videos like have like, oh, fun fact about,
Right, right.
China or, elephants or stuff like that. Well, my fun facts is like reading books, and that kind of lowers me to like I guess in terms of brain waves, they say that whenever you are like thinking a lot of stuff, you're in like high beta brain waves. And then reading actually helps you like lower your brain waves. And then uh they say that meditation actually like lowers it even more to actually be able to fall asleep. But yeah, I guess reading helps me kind of tone down.
Yeah, I need to do that
Surprisingly.
too.
Yeah.
Because I used to tell you, I used to read 5 books, like every night, and I'm starting to try to get back into that
Would
again.
you do you do this too? Like you read a chapter of one or read a little bit
Yeah,
of
and then
one
I
and
switched
then
to
you
another one.
pick up another book.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I would do
You do
that.
that too? Oh my God. That
Yeah,
was
I like
crazy,
have like
man.
5 different books next to my bed. One's
Yeah.
one's on consciousness, another one's on the Freemason stuff,
Yeah.
weird stuff. Yeah, another one's about so I'm trying to think. Man, can't remember. But yeah, like different topics, like just
Yeah. Because
you know,
right now I've been reading, like I have them right here. Like I've been reading uh about the
right,
breath,
I remember that one. Yeah.
and then I've been reading different books of the Bible, which is nice because once you finish a different book, like the Bible has so many books. So like I'm trying to finish reading the whole Bible.
That's what I
And
want to do.
then
I actually made that my goal, and I haven't achieved it yet.
yeah, I've never done it either. So
I
but
want,
I finished the four gospels and right now I'm going into the letters of Paul. But then I
yeah,
have other books. I used to have like two other books that had like small chapters in each. And so I would just read like four, like you said, 4 or 5 books,
right.
or less, sometimes just like two or three. But it would help me like I don't know what it does.
I remember now. Yeah, the other books are Nietzsche, Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher, who was about like existential nihilism, and the other philosophy is Descartes. Yeah, Descartes, Rene Descartes, about
I
like
wonder if polymaths like that's their nature to just be
yeah,
constantly learning about different topics.
no. Leonardo da Vinci in his biography I read, he had like lists each day almost in his journal of thing to do list, and they're all wildly different topics he wanted to do all in one day. And he would read books. He would read one book on optics, a really different book on painting, another book on like philosophy, all in like the same kind of moment or
Yeah.
period of time, kind of thing.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
it's very common. Yeah, jump.
so crazy.
That's what a polymath is. They want to study everything. They want to study not just science, but art, philosophy, and everything. Kind of almost everything.
Man, that's why it was so hard for me to like choose a major in college
Yeah, same.
because
If I go back, I would get if I could do anything without worrying about money or anything. I get a degree in physics. Hell, I get a PhD in physics, and I'd also get a PhD in philosophy, probably theology,
yeah,
and
and philosophy would be
hell, I would
nice.
even be willing to dive deep in mathematics just to understand it better and just to
Ooh,
understand
I
physics.
thought about doing that for one time.
If I
Yeah,
understand, if I want to get a degree in physics, and if I really want to understand physics to the core and come up with my own, I could get a whole other degree in mathematics and truly understand the whole picture.
yeah,
Like, to me, I see when I study one thing, it's like I only see a very small fraction of the entire picture of the world, of the universe. And I feel like to me that's not enough. I want to know.
yeah. Yeah, and I find it interesting that we both ended up getting like a communication degree
Right?
because it was the one that would allow us to actually have more electives to learn other
Yeah,
things.
that's probably why it's the most diverse. That's
Yeah,
why
it's the most flexible one. But a
yeah,
lot of
because
people like
yeah.
I was talking to one of my friends one time and she studied psychology, but she was telling me that, she almost kind of shamed me a little bit because she was like, "Oh, like you chose communication. That's such a like easy major,
Yeah,
you
I
know." But for me, it was like, well, I chose it because it was easy because it would allow me to do other things, to take other classes because I took business class. I was involved in other things. Like I ended up getting a minor in music, and I really enjoyed the literature classes and even wanted to take other philosophy classes too. So it
yeah.
was just so flexible that I just enjoyed the electives that it brought. I could mold it into whatever I wanted it.
Yeah, I chose it because when I did my research on the job possibilities, it has the most diverse job field.
Yeah,
And I was like, that's who I am. Like, I don't want to just do one thing. This would give me multiple options. And if I want to switch a job after a few years, I can do it if I wanted to.
yeah.
It gives me time
And I'm so grateful for that too, because when
too.
I look at it in terms of like job perspective, I could go into marketing, I could go into teaching, I could go into, really like
business,
television, whatever I want, like,
media,
you
newspaper
know,
journalism, right? So
yeah.
yeah, and I like filming and writing. That was the closest thing. I wasn't going to go to film school because there's no guarantee of a job with that. So the next most practical thing was communication studies because at least it has some shown practical job options and not just one, several. So
Yeah.
I was like, that's makes sense to me. If I did biology, if I became a doctor, I wouldn't have time to do any of these other creative pursuits I'm doing. I would have to shut everything else off unless I was like a specialized doctor where I only work like 4 days a week. But then again, a
Mm,
lot of doctors are on call sometimes. So the chances of
uh,
me actually being able to have time to do everything I want to do and be a doctor is very slim to none. It's not
yeah.
that I don't want to be a doctor. It's just I don't want to only be a doctor. I want to
And
do.
it's not that you don't have the
I
capacity
could probably done it.
to do it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You could have easily done it. And that's what I look back into it, and because at some point I wanted to be an architect and also an engineer, but you know it just wasn't the path that I felt like I wanted to pursue. I tried it, I saw what it was like. I was like, man, I just don't see myself like
Yeah,
just constantly doing the
I
same
know.
thing
That's
over and
exactly what
over.
I felt. I felt like I couldn't constantly see myself only doing this for the rest of my life, and
Yeah.
that's when I realized it's not worth
And I
it.
know it's very creative, but
Yeah, and I can
because
make.
I like math a lot, but
Yeah,
it's just, yeah.
yeah.
Oh man, things you find out. Well, I really appreciate you talking to me about this, deal, because I've learned more about you, and then I now I don't feel too alone because it's almost like a constant daily battle with the productivity aspect of things,
Yeah, that's awesome.
especially when your mind is just running like 100 miles per hour, and you
Yeah,
know you I do feel sometimes that it affects my relationships. That's what I guess I had concluded, but I guess, you know, it's something I'm still working on. Every now and then I just try to call someone, like my grandmother or my parents or something, just to to stay a little bit sane, I guess I would say. You know?
yeah. I learned something too. I learned that like I got something from it. Like just this talk is making me feel more motivated to like start pursuing multiple things again and not
Yeah.
just maybe trying to be more productive in terms of creativity. Because I keep thinking I want to do these things, but like yeah, but I feel a little bit more motivated. I think I'm this week, because this job like it's not going to start for probably a few more weeks or so. So I'll have a little extra time to pursue. So I think I should.
Play around with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.